Updated. Mom stopped me from buying a house to protect my sister. Now she wants me to take them in, so I banned them. Original post. I'm here because I feel so stupid right now. I cannot comprehend my mom's intention when she said I, 32 female, shouldn't buy a house just because my sister, 38 female, would be hurt. My sister, who is broke, divorced twice, not judging at all, and living off the maintenance provided by her ex-husband, would feel bad if I bought a house with my own hard-earned money. Like, really? It's not that I'm going to pay heed to her advice, but it just baffles me to think that she could deter me like this. You see, I've always been the responsible one. I took my studies seriously, worked hard, and put in the effort to secure a decent future for myself. My sister? Not so much. She's 4 years older than me, and I've seen her closely making awful life choices. She always relied on someone else to pick up the pieces for her. Mom had a soft spot for her, which created a distance between me and Mom. 3 months ago, after years of saving and planning, I finally decided to buy my own house. It wasn't an impulsive decision. I've been slogging my butt off for over a decade, lived frugally in a dingy apartment, and saved every cent to have my own place someday. Last quarter, I got a hefty bonus for completing 10 years in a company with a substantial raise. I felt now was the right time to invest in something tangible, the house I've been dreaming of since my childhood. I grew up in a broken home. My parents were not married, and Dad left us when I was 2 and never contacted us again. Mom said she tried all means to reach out to him for child support, but he just vanished. He reappeared in our lives when we were adults, apologized, and wanted to work on the relationship, but we maintained our distance. That's a separate story altogether. In short, my mom was a single parent who worked 2 jobs to raise us. I also started earning while still in high school. We always lived in a rented apartment, and money was always a problem, so I grew up with a dream of owning a house one day. I had everything planned out. I even checked out a few properties within my budget and filled out the mortgage application. But before I took the final step, I thought it would be respectful to talk to my mom about it. I wasn't seeking permission, I'm an adult after all, but I thought she'd be happy for me, proud even. I couldn't have been more wrong. When I told my mom about my plans to buy a house, instead of being happy or congratulatory, she looked at me with shock and disapproval. Her first reaction was, "Are you really going to buy it, or is this just a passing thought?" I was taken aback. I mean, what kind of question is that? I fumbled. Yeah, I really want to buy it. And it's not just a thought. It's my dream to own a house. I've been saving for years, and it's time I have a place of my own. She curled her lips and dismissed me, saying, "I don't think that's a good idea." I was confused because this was not what I expected. I asked her why not. She just brushed it off, saying, No, it's not the right time at all." When I pestered her for an explanation, she said, "Your sister is going through a tough time right now. She's already struggling so much. Can you imagine how she'll feel if you buy a house when she can barely afford to keep a roof over her head?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sister's financial situation had always been dire. She had been divorced twice. She got married for the first time when she was barely 18. Everyone cautioned her not to take the plunge so early, yet she dropped out of high school just before her final exams and got married. She got divorced at 23, remarried at 27, and again got divorced at 33. Her second divorce was a messy split from her cheating husband, who still pays her a bare minimum of maintenance, just enough to scrape by. I can't say I was completely surprised when their marriage crumbled. I predicted it long before it actually happened. She has a habit of spending the evening with Mom, and this pushed her husband away. I absolutely do not justify his cheating, but she's also one of the reasons why he drifted away from her. There used to be ugly fights between them because she didn't give him any time. She wouldn't go out with him. Most of the time, she was glued to Mom. They would go shopping, to movies, and stroll together while leaving her husband alone at home. I don't know why, but she just loved lounging at my mom's place every dang evening. They sit and gossip about every dang thing on earth. My sister has always been a source of stress for me. After her first divorce, instead of picking herself up and finding a way to be self-sufficient, she moved back in with Mom. She has a laid-back attitude toward life and expects the best of everything. She dropped out of high school to marry the love of her life. After that love fell apart, Mom asked her to go back to school, but she didn't. She did a few jobs here and there, loitered around for most of her time, and then got herself another loser, another divorce. I even asked her to pick up some skills and get a job, but her lazy butt refused to move. She relies entirely on the chump change her ex-husband is legally obligated to give her and our mom's never-ending support. The interesting part is Mom happily fending for her, but I was expected to manage everything on my own. I'd worked hard to complete my education, juggled jobs in school until I finally graduated. I wasn't handed anything on a platter. Every penny I saved was because of my own efforts, and now I wanted to use that money to secure my future. But my mom wasn't pleased. I was almost in tears with her reaction and fought back, saying that I've worked really hard for this. I shouldn't have to put my life on hold because she's not in a good place. But Mom was like, "You don't understand how she feels. She has nothing. You have everything going for you, a good job, savings, and even a boyfriend. Tomorrow you might just announce that you're getting married, and I couldn't say no to that. But a house? No. It's too much for Pixie, my sister, to handle." I told Mom that it wasn't my fault if her life was falling apart. She needs to take control of her life just like I did. But Mom's ultimate argument was, she's your sister, and families don't hurt each other and rub their success in each other's misery. This wasn't the first time my mom had tried to guilt me into putting my sister's needs above my own. But this time, it was just too much. She was asking me to sacrifice something I had worked towards for years just to spare my sister's feelings. And what if my sister is never in a good place financially? Does that mean I need to sacrifice my happiness? Mom got offended at this, saying I'm looking down on my sister. I wasn't belittling her, but it's true. She's had years to get back on her feet. It's not like this is a new situation. Her situation has always been miserable, and she has made peace with that. Mom snapped at me, saying, "Pixie is still recovering from her husband's cheating, and you should be patient." She said, "If you've no better things to do with the money, give it to your sister. She wanted to start her online business but couldn't do it until now because of the money problem." I was horrified at her advice. I said this was the last thing I would ever do with my money. I would rather spend it on a luxury trip than give it to my sister when I know it's not going to yield any result. Our argument turned into a fight. I tried to make my point that her divorce happened long ago and she needs to move on, if she hasn't already, and put her life together, and her personal life crisis has nothing to do with my goals. But she wouldn't budge. She kept insisting that me buying a house would only rub salt in the wound, making my sister feel even worse about her situation. I finally put my foot down and said, whatever she says or thinks, I don't care. I'm going to move forward with my plan. I'm just so distraught right now. How could parents be so cruel and insensitive sometimes? It makes me question my own sanity if I'm seeing things how they are or if I'm overreacting. Now for the updates. Update 1. Thanks for hyping me. And yes, congratulations to me for the house. Nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom house with a spacious living room and a tiny front lawn. It's located in a good neighborhood, though. Sorry I couldn't update earlier. I've been busy setting up the house. But here's the new update. As I mentioned in my first post, I bought the house despite my mom's objections. I knew I wanted this for myself, whether my mom liked it or not. I didn't even inform her about it. It wasn't out of spite, I just couldn't handle another round of guilt tripping. I figured they would find out eventually, and I would deal with the fallout then. I was hurting because it's a big thing for me, and I wanted my family to cherish the moment. I wanted to involve her in the process, but she called for the boycott. I was low-key with my family after the last fight. Mom texted and called me a few times, but I didn't respond. She thought I was angry. Her last text was, "I know you're mad at me, but trust me, this is the best thing for you and your sister. We're family, and we shouldn't hurt each other. Once you cool off, you would see the goodness in not rubbing the dang house in your sister's face." I let it slide and waited for the news to reach them. Eventually, it reached them sooner than I expected. A couple of weeks after I moved in, I posted a selfie on the front lawn with a coffee. Nothing too revealing. I didn't think too much of it. I was just proud of my new space and wanted to share it with friends. I made sure to hide everyone who could leak this information to my mom and sister, but I missed removing my mom's church friend. She saw it and spilled the beans during Sunday prayer. Within hours, my phone started blowing up with messages from my mom and sister. I was busy and didn't see the messages. I didn't even realize that her friend saw my post until I received a call from my mom. It had been months since she last called me, so I responded. As soon as I did, she launched into a tirade. "How could you do this? You know how much your sister is struggling, and you go and buy a house without even telling us? What did you want to prove by going behind our back and fulfilling your gosh darn ego?" Instead of hanging up, I decided to face the bullet. I said, "I didn't think it was necessary to inform you. I knew how you would react." Mom snapped at me. "Of course you knew how I'd react. You went behind our backs and did it anyway." I could hear my sister in the background telling Mom, "I told you, she doesn't care for us. She just seeks an opportunity to make me look small." It made my blood boil. She always plays the victim, always the one who needs to be coddled and protected. Meanwhile, I was expected to put my life on hold, to sacrifice my own happiness for her sake. Mom lashed out at me, calling me selfish and pompous, someone who doesn't care about others' feelings. It led to an ugly fight. I told her, "I'm proud of taking a stand for myself, even if you don't like it." The conversation ended with my mom hanging up on me. I was shaking with anger and frustration, but I felt relief. I did what I wanted and didn't give in to their pressure. Last week was my birthday. None of them wished me, nor did they invite me for Thanksgiving yesterday. It would be a lie if I said I didn't feel hurt. Of course I do, but I'm glad I saw their true colors. I'm going to remain no contact with them. If they don't need me, I don't need them either. Update 2. I thought this would end with me going no contact with them, but it didn't end there. Last week, my mom and sister showed up at my door unannounced. Mind you, this happened 2 months after they found out about the house. I was caught off guard when I saw them standing there. The stupid part of me thought they were here to iron things out. I invited them inside. Before I could offer to give them a house tour, they wandered around by themselves. I could see the wheels turning in my mom's head. She was calculating and planning. I knew that whatever came next wasn't going to be good. Her first sentence was, "This is a nice place, like, really nice." I didn't know what else to say apart from thanks. Her compliment was also confusing. My sister didn't say anything, just wandered around the living room. One of my rooms is empty. I wanted to make it a study, but I'm yet to buy the furniture. My mom entered the empty room and said, "Pixie can take this room. It has a perfect view of the lawn. It would help ease her depression." I was shocked. I wasn't even sure I'd heard her right. I asked her what she meant, and she said, "This house, of course. It's perfect for your sister. She can move in here with you just until she gets back on her feet." I stared at her, dumbfounded. "Are you serious?" She replied, "Of course I'm serious," and looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. She needs a place to live, somewhere she can recover from everything she's been through. This house is perfect for that. She's living in a dark apartment, unable to overcome her gloomy life. She needs brightness. And this house would give her the freshness and positive vibes she needs to move forward in her life. I flipped out. "No, it's not. I'm not going to let her move in with me. I bought this house because I wanted a place of my own, not for her to heal from her superficial depression. I'm not going to sacrifice my peace for her." Mom got furious and said, "Your sister is your family. How could you be so heartless?" Her argument was that she's my sister, she's been through so much, and I have the means to help her, so it's my duty to do so. It's not that I've never helped my sister. I've given her handouts whenever she was in a tight spot. I bought her gifts, dresses, shoes, and bags, whenever I got a raise, on her birthdays and Christmas. What else do they expect from me? I was fuming with anger, yet I controlled my emotions and told her, "I've given enough. I've sacrificed enough. I've spent my entire life doing what you and Pixie wanted, and I'm done. This is my life, my house. and I'm not going to let anyone take that away from me. Until then, Pixie had just been sitting in the corner, sulking. She finally spoke up in a pathetic voice. "I just don't understand why you're being so mean. I thought we were family, but sadly, you don't consider us anything." I wanted to call out her crocodile tears, but that would have turned the conversation in another direction. So I told her, "We're family, but that doesn't mean I have to give up everything I've worked for just to make you feel better. You need to start taking responsibility for your own life, like I did." Pixie broke down and said, "I don't have any means to achieve anything in life. You have it all. As a family, we should have each other's backs. If I were in your situation and you were in mine, I would have definitely let you in. That's not my fault. You made your choices, just like I made mine, and now you have to live with the consequences." There was a long, uncomfortable silence after that. It may have been rude for me to say such things to her, but what choice did I have? They were just getting on my nerves. My mom was angry and my sister was hurt and teary. I started feeling a little guilty about my words, but I suppressed my emotions and asked them to leave. Mom looked at me with disbelief. She wanted to argue, but I could see that she knew it was pointless. She stared at me with cold eyes and said, "You're making a big mistake." She grabbed my sister's arm, pulled her towards the door, and left. I closed the door behind them. I leaned against it for a moment. I wasn't sure if I did the right thing. Sometimes I think I'm selfish for not letting my sister move in with me. But then I remember the resentment I got from them when I told them about my house plan. I know my relationship with my mom and sister will never be the same, but I also know I couldn't keep living my life for them. I have to live for myself. Update 3. Thanks for validating my actions. I'm glad so many of you were able to connect with my feelings. It also makes me wonder how many of us have been exploited by our loved ones in the name of family. Here's something new that happened. Over the next few days, I tried to get back to my normal routine, but the tension with my family was always at the back of my mind. Then, one evening, I came home from work to find them lurking in my driveway. My heart sank when I saw them, and I immediately knew this wasn't going to be a pleasant visit. They hadn't called or texted to say they were coming. They had just shown up, as if they had every right to invade my space. I parked the car and walked over to them, trying to keep my annoyance in check. "What are you doing here?" I didn't want to be rude, but somehow I spoke in an impudent tone. They both looked miserable. Mom told me that her landlord had threatened to lock them outside if they didn't pay the rent. Apparently, they've defaulted on rent for 2 months, and the owner is chasing them. It made me wonder what they were doing with the money they earned. They're living together, and Mom claims Pixie works hard. If that's true, she should be bringing in money. So how come they couldn't pay rent for 2 months? I asked them this question, and Mom insisted we go inside and talk, as they'd been standing in the cold for a long time. As soon as I walked toward my door, I saw 2 suitcases lying on the front porch. I was like, "What the hell?" Mom said, "Let's get inside, and we'll answer everything you want to know." I let them in because it was chilly outside, but I asked them to leave their baggage outside. Yeah, literally. Mom told me that Pixie hated her job and wanted to start her own online business, so Mom gave her savings to set it up. Mom kept pouring money into the business through her salary and credit card. When Pixie couldn't make any progress after trying for 5 months, she gave up. Now Mom was left with no savings and piled up bills. I was like, "Wow, you gave up your savings for her dumb business, and you were asking me to bet my life savings on it? I could have been in the same situation if I'd followed your advice." Mom gestured at me to stop talking trash about Pixie when she was sitting right in front of us. I said, "I don't care. You can continue to enable her entitled behavior, but don't expect any coddling from me." Pixie started crying and said it was cruel of me to humiliate her when she came to my door for help. I said, "I'm not humiliating anyone. I'm just speaking the truth. And if you don't want to hear it, you better stay away from me." Mom started sobbing, saying they came to me as a last hope, and I was turning them down. I said it wasn't my fault they felt entitled to barge into my house when they were the ones who were against the idea of me buying the house with my own money. They continued to gaslight me until I stood up and asked them to leave. Mom said, "You should forget that you have a mother and sister." I said, "Sure, it's better to have no family than to have toxic ones like you." They left. I don't know how to feel about their situation. Would I be wicked to think that they've brought the misery upon themselves and that it's none of my problem?